All right, I guess go ahead and introduce yourselves.
My name's Caitlin. I'm a sophomore and my secondary education major for English.
Secondary education. Where are you from?
I'm from Williamsport.
Williamsport.
Yep.
All right. Wait, when you say that, does almost everybody say, "Oh, Little League World Series"? Yeah. I didn't say that, but I was going to. Yeah. All right.
I'm Kenny. I'm a broadcast journalism and marketing major from New York.
As in New York City?
No, Long Island.
From Long Island? But for the rest of us, we just call that New York City. But for Long Islanders, that's...
I mean, either or. I feel like Long Island is pretty big, so
Yeah.
you have Long Island and then you have like Long Island.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I got you. All right. Yeah, it's not like a borough or something. Yeah. Those of us from Ohio, we have a different way of seeing that, but it makes sense. Hey, so here's what a full reversal, okay? The other day, here we go. The other day I was thinking about queer issues, and I just saw some things about kind of where we're at, and as a in the world. I've been kind of watching a few things open up, and I just thought, you know what? We haven't had a conversation. Hang on. Shh. We haven't had a conversation in a couple of years in this class, and I thought, I'm just really curious about what's going on, like what people are talking about. And so I have a few questions for the two of you, who are both straight, by the way, right? Yeah. What's your first memory of learning about being straight or being queer? And when I say queer, by the way, it's just easier than saying, you guys know, it's easier than the alphabets, right? It just keeps getting longer and longer, and so we're just going to go with queer. What's your first memory?
My aunt is actually lesbian, so she's been lesbian since I was like 4, so it's kind of been a conversation that I've had my entire life, I feel like, and I've always known about it, so. Yeah.
With your parents, with your aunt, hold the mic really close, by the way. You have a soft voice.
Sorry.
Just like almost on your lip. Yeah.
It's my mom's sister, so it was like a conversation within our household.
And your parents are cool with your aunt?
I feel like my mom is more closed-minded, but she's never thought that they shouldn't have rights or anything like that. So she's not against it. She's just, I know she can be kind of close-minded sometimes.
So as young as you can remember, the idea wasn't just like, this is and what's your aunt's name?
Siobhan.
Siobhan? Yeah. This is your Aunt Siobhan and Aunt Siobhan's friend. It wasn't that. It was Aunt Siobhan who's lesbian?
Yeah. Because she was married before, and then she had 2 kids with him, but then she ended up getting divorced and married to a woman. So.
All right.
But a lot later on, obviously.
Yeah. Kenny, how about you? What's your first memory?
I'd say my first memory was probably watching something on television. Maybe when I was in maybe middle school or early high school. That's the most I can remember.
And what do you remember? What you were thinking? Was it?
I was just thinking that's a little different, but we're seeing it more and more in pop culture, obviously.
So you, even from a young age, were just would you say that you just started seeing pretty quickly a lot of references?
Yeah.
To pride living, so to speak. What's your first memory of kind of homophobic ideas, or like people that spoke out or that were against the? Hey, pride living, dude. I'm gonna start that. Pride living. That's just kind of cool. Who struggle with it. What's your earliest memory of that?
Wait, so can I get a concrete question? Repeat the second part?
What's your first memory of homophobic ideas or attitudes or?
I'd say my first memory for sure was when they legalized gay marriage, And then there was obviously like people that were against that. So I feel like people were just really adamant and, you know, butting on people's lives, so to speak.
And you're Nigerian American.
Yeah, I'm Nigerian.
Yeah, so Nigerians are pretty notoriously
Yeah.
supportive of queer rights.
Supportive? I don't know. I don't
I'm
think
just
so.
kidding, bro. Yeah, pretty against Nigerians. Yeah, no, not at all. Actually, not supportive. So how about that? How about just in the Nigerian community? Did you?
So yeah, with the Nigerian community, I'd say they're really traditional. You know, where the mothers, like my mom, she's really like happy about cleaning and cooking and providing for children, that traditional kind of lifestyle. And then they're okay with, you know, the dad and the father manning the household. So I'd say, my bad, I'm losing my train of thought. So it's like, with Nigeria, they're really like, the Western world is traditional. So they're not so open to the new lifestyle, to the LGBTQ plus and all that.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is behind that? Is it Christianity?
Yeah. I think it probably is. I would say it is Christianity, because they say that stuff isn't in the Bible. So then why should you follow it?
Yeah, but I wonder why Nigerians? Because why in so many places with Christian communities in Africa, for example, right? Do you ever think about that? Like why there's so much homophobia? I'm just going to call it homophobia because it's just a general term. Why there's so much there in particular? Because there's so many other Christian nations where people are really embracing the queer issues, right? The queer community, LGBT community. Do you have any thought? Do you ever wonder that? Like as a Nigerian American, like what is it about Nigerians or I'm going to say Africans in general, just in a sense.
Yeah, I always wonder why they're so against it. But obviously, it's so different when you're growing up in a certain area, and this is like what most of the people around you believe in. So you're kind of accustomed to following that.
Right. That there's just these people that have here's this group of people, so many Nigerians that just have this negative reaction to to queer issues, right? Mm. So what I hear you saying is, yeah, you just kind of get used to it, but I'm going to ask one more question, and we're going to come back to you. I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but I think about minority rights, and I think about the way I think from the outside, and many people think, like it would seem that minoritized groups would just naturally support other minoritized groups, right? So you as of African ancestry, your family, you're different. I mean, you're a different generation, right? So you're open, but it would seem that people of African ancestry in the U.S. would see people in the queer community and be like, oh my God, they can't, they're experiencing this hate. We got to step up and support them, right? So it always strikes many people as kind of as odd that minoritized groups aren't supporting other minority groups, right? Do you have any just thoughts on that? By the way, I'm not trying to put you on the spot on it to answer a certain way. I'm just curious about that because I think about that. Like as a black guy, do you think like, damn, people who are gay, when people are talking crap about people who are gay, I should really support people who are gay. Like, come on, man, I shouldn't gang up on them.
Yeah.
People will be talking shit about me.
Yeah, because I feel like when I'm going through Instagram and I'm going through comment sections, like there's one social media account I really hate, The Shade Room. I hate it so much because they like really, I feel like they push out homophobia and they try to push out it's just weird. You go through the comment section and it's like people are uncomfortable with other people being comfortable with who they are. And that's something I really don't get because it's like, how are you letting someone else's life and what they want to do affect you?
Or who they are.
Yeah. So that stuff gets me tight.
Right. So it would be like you saying, hey, I'm really proud to be an American and a Nigerian and an African and black and someone and me going like, dude, what the hell? Yeah. Right? Yeah. It is kind of bizarre. Huh. All right, hang on. How about you? Do you remember when you were young, anti-gay rhetoric? By the way, I'm just borrowing lots of words. A lot of times, we just say gay to be everybody in the LGBT community, so whatever.
So I used to live in New York, Kingston area. It's a couple hours outside of the city. So I kind of grew up like not hearing homophobic stuff. It was more open because I was in much bigger schools, with a lot of people who are very different from you. But definitely when I moved to Pennsylvania, I live in a very small town now, and there's people who will like just refer to things they don't like as gay, like that's so gay or something. So like I feel like it was more from like 2015 on, because that's when I moved to Pennsylvania. So like 6th grade was kind of like when I was first hearing that kind of stuff.
So do you remember, because you had an aunt, do you remember really standing up and say, wait, they're talking about people, when they say things, they're talking about my aunt?
Yeah, especially like not ever experiencing that before. It was never something I really had to stand up and talk to other people about. But once I started hearing it, especially as often as I was hearing it from such a young age, it was just like, it was ridiculous, because so especially something as simple as just calling something gay just because you don't like it, like associating the two together. So speaking up, it wasn't easy because I was a new student and it was like a completely new like environment, but I still did because it's the right thing, especially with family members who are part of that community.
Yeah. Kenny, who was your first gay friend? By the way, I ask it like that now because if you ask someone of my generation, the answer is often going to be somebody like when they're in their 20s or something, right? Because like I had a couple of people I went to grade school with. One person in particular I knew was gay. I'm like, oh, dude, you're gay. We knew that. Everyone knew that. It was fine. Everyone was fine with it, but yeah.
Maybe around when I got to middle school, I'd say, or high school. Somewhere around then. I can't think off the top of my head have I had like a gay friend, like someone that I'm like really close with, and they're in like proximity.
And do you remember what you thought? How'd you know they were gay, by the way?
Oh, just by the way they move and the way they talk. You know what I mean? Like you could, I'm not saying with everyone, but with some people they're like flamboyant and you can hear it in their voice, and you can see it in the walk.
So like you don't have to have like a really serious high-functioning gaydar.
Nah, not really.
With that person, you're like, yeah, I turned my gaydar down to low, and I still knew he was gay.
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah.
So how did you respond to him? What do you remember?
Okay, so this was maybe in like 6th grade, I'd say. So, and then even then, I feel like, I know she said how in New York it's like people are more open because there's a lot of people, but I still feel like during that time, maybe people were still a little opening up to it, like they still weren't fully comfortable with it. So I would say that maybe some people like in the grade, they would like say, oh, he's gay, like, and make him feel bad a little about it. But the dude I'm remembering, he was pretty like open and strong about who he was.
And how did you react to him if he was open and strong?
I'd say I don't know if there was really a reaction because it's like it's not my business. You know what I mean?
I got you. Yeah, that's the irony, right? Like someone who's really confident in themselves. Were they Nigerian?
No.
Yeah, somebody who's confident with themselves, you just sort of go with it. That's the irony of confidence in a weird way. Who was your first gay friend?
One of my best friends actually growing up, her name was Lauren. It was more recently. I feel like she's the first person who's like come to me and told me specifically. So I would consider her my first gay friend, but she had a boyfriend for a while and then she recently like kind of realized it, but we had talked about it like since like 10th grade or so. So
Uh-huh.
I feel like it was something I kind of knew and she kind of knew too, but not until like a year ago did she really like confidently say it.
So here's a quick question. How many people in your orbits are really, this just came to my mind, are really uncomfortable being around people who are gay? Like how many people just in your orbit, right? Because I think of your generation, you're just in a different world, right, than my generation. So
When you say orbit, I think of you saying like my closest friends. So I would say like I have like 2 really close friends that I call my brothers. So I would say that one friend, he's Caribbean, Guyanese. So he was like a little bit, he was kind of homophobic. Like he would be uncomfortable with it. But this was like maybe like 3 years ago. But obviously now I'd say he's more open with it and more comfortable now.
mm-hmm. What made him more comfortable?
Like we just mind our business. I feel like over time we just told him it's like, yo, who cares, bro? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so just chill out. It's good. You're all right. You're not going to become gay by being around gay people. Yeah. How about you?
I don't really have anybody in my close circle that isn't okay with gay people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Hey, let me show you. I want to show you all some data. All right. Hang on. Do you want to do it? Why don't you do it? I want to show you some data. So the reason I call this class a full reversal, because here, check this out. We'll look in this direction. So do you think marriages between same-sex couples should be recognized by the law as fully legal, right? So the green line is yes. Say, yeah, I do. And the purple line up here is no. And so look at how these completely switched. And now 71% of people in the United States are saying like, yeah, gay marriage, it should be fully legal. It should be just like every other marriage. In 96, it's when I was 4 years, 5 years, 6 years into teaching this class, and it just was it was like pulling teeth. I mean, being really careful, talking about things, and nobody would talk. Very rarely would anybody talk openly or want to talk openly about things. So that's pretty amazing, man. There aren't many changes in the world like that. Can you go? Take a look at this. Gays and lesbians should be hired as elementary school teachers. Look at the 77 is, I was a junior in high school. And look at 81%. I mean, this is like just profoundly supportive of change. That's really quite profound. And you could say, hey, but it's not 99 or 100%. Well, nothing is 100%. 81% is phenomenal. How about the next one? Gays and lesbians should be allowed to adopt children. That's pretty serious. Gays and lesbians should have equal rights as everyone else in terms of job opportunities. 93%, man. Like that would be just like your aunt, right? There's 93% are saying like, yeah, what's the problem? Why would you discriminate? And wait, hang on, and do the next one. So here's one. Wealthier countries tend to be more accepting of homosexuality. So here's percent who say homosexuality should be accepted by society. So the higher you go is the more people who say, yeah, it should be accepted. And down at this end is the wealthier come. This is GDP per capita. So look at Nigeria, by the way, bro. Look at that. Nigeria. Homosexuality should be accepted by society. It's close to 0. And then, look here. Like Kenya, Tunisia, Indonesia, Ukraine, Lebanon. And then we move up, right? And it's just kind of the democratic nations. Okay, go to the next one. Here's another one that I think is kind of interesting. So homosexuality should be accepted by society. In South Korea, so this is kind of like who the ages, right? So people who are 50 and above, this is currently, it was 2018, so it's 5 years ago, but 23% of South Koreans who are 50 and above say, yeah, it should be accepted by society. That's not marriage, that's not any of that, right? And then But of 18 to 29-year-olds, almost 80% are saying, like, yeah, we should accept it. So you see this kind of bifurcation. And go to the next one. Here's Nigeria, right? Should be accepted by sight. 3% and 9%. So people in your generation, it's still only 9%, which is really intense, you know? And wait, hang on. We can leave that there. Does that strike you as when you think about LGBT issues, do the two of you think, how often do you think like, whoa, we at least in so many nations have come so far? Like, do you ever think that? Do you ever think that?
I wouldn't say it's like a constant thought, but it is something I have thought about. Like, we're very progressive in the United States, even though there's a lot of people who still don't agree with it. There's more people who are at least trying to just like tolerate it in a way, which is nice, I guess, but it's nice that more people are becoming more open with it, especially in like younger generations, because we're growing up with it.
Yeah.
It's harder for like older people to kind of change their views,
yeah,
which is understandable to a degree, but it's becoming more and more like this because of the younger generations.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
And then, yeah, I'd say, like she said, just because the world is always advancing, so, you know, just be open and just let people be who they are. Because if we're hating on other people and we're like butting into their lives, I feel like it is gonna diminish their confidence and they can't be who they are. They can't flourish. And then it's just a whole trickle down from there.
Dude, said like a perfect Gen Z. Are you Gen Z? Are you guys Gen Z?
No.
What are you?
Gen Z.
Are you Gen Z?
I'm 20.
Oh, you're 20? Like what generation are you guys? You are Gen Zs? All right.
I think I'm a baby boomer.
Yeah. Dude, I'm a baby boomer, man. No, it's said like that. That's pretty cool. Like, it's cool to hear that, and I think that's the common sentiment, it seems like, with your generation. Dude, awesome, man. That's it. All right, Doug. Thanks, man. Yeah. Hey, it's so fascinating, really. Hey, I want to do a quick. I want to do a segment here, but I had someone to volunteer who was out, and he couldn't do it at the last minute. Does anybody want to volunteer who's out? You got to be gay or lesbian, but ideally. Is that it? Wait, dude. Are there two people? Just one? Anybody want to volunteer? Bro, you're on. Yeah, why don't you come up? Wait. Polyamory doesn't go. Wait, so hang on. Yeah, bye. No, dude, you're on. Come on. Anybody? Wait, do we have someone else? Yeah, BioRaid. No, hang on. Anybody else want to volunteer? Anyone good? All right. Dude, it's going to be, I'll let him hold it down. Dude, you're going to hold it down. Have a seat. You don't have to give him a name tag. Well, what's your name, bro? Let me see what is it?
Nate.
Nate? Yeah, you better. Nate's a tough name for me. All right, Nate. Dude, just first off, wait, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Nate. I'm a second-year psychology student, and I'm from Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. And you when did you first come out, by the way, to yourself?
I want to say like 12 or 13.
13? By the way, are you out, just to be clear, so I want to know like what questions I can ask you.
I'm pretty sure most people can tell.
Yeah. Well, okay, why is that? No, what do they see or what do they have?
Well, I mean, I kind of fit the stereotype.
Yeah, but it's a stereotype. No, hang on though. Let's have this conversation because I think it's a cool conversation, bro. What's the stereotype from your perspective as someone who fits? Well, first off, what's the stereotype?
Someone who has like a higher pitched voice, and sort of just more expressive, maybe. Even though I'm not like that expressive, but like just more like out and open, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. That's the interesting thing, right? Like, so Kenny said the piece about his friend, and he said, yeah, he just knew that he was gay. So, what were you thinking when he said that?
I was like, oh, like, I mean, that's valid, because like, I mean, it's not like, I feel like you shouldn't assume, but like, sometimes I feel like in my case, people could just like tell.
Mm-hmm. They could tell because they just see something.
Yeah, like people knew before I even knew. I guess they just were like asking me, and I didn't even know what it was.
People were asking, like adults or your friends and stuff?
No, like people in middle school and like
other students. Were they asking you in kind of a negative way, a challenging way, or just?
Yeah, it was like I took it as a negative way, and I really like internalized that.
Uh-huh. What do you mean?
Like I took it as a negative, like being gay is bad.
But looking back, do you think they were really always asking that, or they just were asking, wait, are you gay?
No, I think they were just curious, but I think, you know, just being a guy in middle school, like people would just throw around like gay is bad a lot, and like all of that.
Yeah, they were like what Caitlin said.
Right.
Yeah, that's so gay. That's whatever. So when you hear people referencing like femi guys and stuff, like how is that for you? Like how do you experience that? Because I'm just curious for people who, like, is that kind of I would think that that's kind of a slur in its own way, like femboy or femi guys, for straight people to say that.
I'm not really sure. I feel like not a lot of people like even like throw that around a lot, or like if they do, I feel like it's mainly people in the community.
Uh-huh. So do you, if people are asking, so people can meet you and be like, okay, he's gay. And you can't really say, so you just tried to describe what it is that they see, but you can't really describe it. I don't think you were very successful at saying what they see when they see you.
Well, I don't know. I've been told it's weird. I don't know. Like when people see me, it's like, oh, like he's gay and like weird. Like, you know,
something that's just
like just different, you know.
But different is like, yeah, but everyone's different, you know. I don't know. I guess what I'm trying in my mind to say is we have these stereotypes. First off, the range of people who are gay or lesbian. Let's just stick with gay men, for example. Just you, I mean, you're around a lot of gay men. I'm around a lot of gay men. It's like there's such a range of people with the way they dress. You're not. I mean, dude, look at you. Like, come on, man. There's the stereotype of gay men who are really into their clothing and really into everything. But that's not true. It's all stereotypes, right? The stereotype of gay men acting a certain way, whatever. That's a stereotype. So do you want people, if people say like, hey Nate, wait, are you gay? Like, do you want, how is that when people say that to you?
I mean, no one has really done that recently. I think it's just because I've been more comfortable with it, and like it isn't like a shocking thing. But I guess like in like years like before this, I would get like nervous or like just kind of like offended almost.
What's the nervousness?
Just like, I don't know, they were kind of putting you on the spot, and like, I don't, you weren't ready to.
Do you have the idea that if you say, "Hey, I'm gay," then maybe people might reject you or just attack you or say negative things?
Yeah, like some of my friends in middle school weren't like receptive to it, so like, I don't know.
How about up here at Penn State?
I haven't like dealt with any like sort of negative things, I don't think.
Wait,
I feel
what year are you here?
Second year.
Second year? Okay.
So I've been fortunate enough not to, and I feel like for the most part, Penn State's generally accepting, but I know like people will still like, especially like the guys, like will throw around like, just
throw around like the F-bomb.
Yeah, or like, yeah.
What do you think the guys who would be really have a problem with you, what do you think they're afraid of from your perspective? Like if you were go to like, not every guy, but just the guy, men, looking out here at like all these men. What do you think if they just use negative, like just came at you in a negative way? What do you think they're afraid of?
I want to say, since it's like kind of, it's less stigmatized, but like since it has that like negative attribute to it, like I feel like it's sort of ingrained in them. Maybe like for some reason they think like I'm gonna turn them gay or something.
Yeah, yeah. What about yeah, it's kind of odd, right? But even then, you just said, you've been up here for 2 years. You haven't had any really negative experiences, even people calling you a slur or anything, right? So if I go back to when I first started teaching social identity, that would not be the case. If you would have been the rare person. First off, you probably wouldn't have come up here and spoken. First off, we didn't have cameras in the room, so you wouldn't have come up here and spoken anyway. But if you did, you would have a lot of stories, and you don't have any stories. So what do you think? So therefore, do you think people are doing what Kenny suggested, which is just mind your own business, man? Like let Nate be Nate and you be you, and it's all good.
I want to say yeah, and then I also want to say maybe like just because, like they don't want to be seen as like bigoted, they're not going to voice it. But I know like people like won't say it to my face, but like they'll say stuff like behind my back or something.
About you?
Not me, like in particular, just about like gay people.
About gay people, meaning that that people aren't always as comfortable as they think that they are.
Right, but like they give you the perception like, oh, like I don't have an opinion, or like
yeah, yeah, and that's true. Like with I suppose everything, right? Like racism, sexism, so on. And yet, I don't know, your generation is so, it's a different generation. Hey, so when you meet men who are more macho, who are gay, what do you tell yourself? Like, how do you see them?
I mean, not really like any different. I mean, because they're like, I don't know, even though they don't fit the stereotype that everyone thinks, like it's still like whatever.
So you're doing what Kenny just said. You're letting them be them, and you want them to let you be you. Huh. Bro, so okay, are we good? Are you the conversation, is this good? Like you're comfortable? Yeah. I mean, it seems like you're comfortable. I'm comfortable. Hey, when you were coming out, wait, how old were you when you came out to yourself? Like 12 or 13? And meaning you looked in a mirror and said, oh, I think I'm gay.
Yeah, like it took a while, but like probably around 13.
Uh-huh. And your parents, when did you tell your parents?
I think when I was 18.
What did they say? Did they say, yeah, we already knew?
Well, I told my mom, and then my dad asked me, and I mean, they were both like good with it.
Yeah. The reason I said did they say they already knew is because I have so many stories of parents who were just like, "Dude, what are you coming out to? You came out to us years ago. Like, it was really clear."
Yeah. Yeah, my dad asked me, so like it was kind of obvious, and then I asked my mom, and she was like, "Oh, I just thought you were into your studies." I was like, "Are you
Into
sure?"
my studies. Yeah, all these books called like Real Men and Men's Lives, and I was studying that. Yeah, that's cool. But and they're cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, what percentage of the U.S. is gay or lesbian? What's your estimate?
I've seen like 10% thrown around, but also people were like in this generation are coming out more just because they feel safer, so it could be increasing.
G-Dog, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. It's a question because it's also, we're talking about how it was, change, how the tides have changed, the tables have turned. And there's also been a lot of phenomenon of people who are gay and straight who assert their principles of gay acceptance into people who are more reserved and who have more traditional values and who are not very accepting of gays. And they're very pronounced about it to a point of being pretentious. How do you think about those kind of people?
Like, do you mean like?
They can be very aggressive when they realize that you're not very accepting of gays.
Oh yeah.
Despite the fact that it's their, that's how they grew up. It's their principle. Sorry, I didn't articulate that properly.
Well, first ask the first question. When you meet someone that's really closed off to the queer community, what's your kind of general response?
I sort of like, I mean, years ago I would have like, just like, oh, I'm not gonna be around them, but like, now I'm just like, oh, they can suck it out. Like, I don't care.
Oh, you don't care?
No.
Dude. Awesome, man. Okay, now to G's question. What is when you see people who are part of the queer community who are just much more like kind of in your face toward those people, not just like, hey, whatever, I don't care, I'm just going to be me, but they're like really out on the front lines. How do you see those folks?
I mean, I'm gonna say, like, I don't always agree with like super aggressive, but like oftentimes like that's what you have to do to like make change or to be heard. So like, I'm not like, I think it's a valid way to feel, especially if they don't think you like deserve rights.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
But it's pretty small, right? I mean, here, look, you're saying like, it's very small. You saw the data that I put up. Can you put up the next slide? So here, take a look at this. Just even this, do you favor or oppose allowing openly transgender men and women to serve in the military? See, 2/3 of 2 out of 3 people in the U.S. say like, yeah, not a problem. Like, damn, man. Go to the next one. So here, the number. So they asked. This is just asking people who identify as LGBT, and so how many have been subject to slurs or jokes? Happened in the last year, 16%, which is not really. It's not that high. I mean, on one hand, we could say, well, but 16%, but growing up in my generation, like, damn, man, that's not high at all. Been rejected by a friend or family member, been threatened. Look at these are numbers just in the past year. Been unfairly treated by an employer, 5%. I mean, it just shows like you are coming of age in a very different world. Go to the next one. I want to show you this. just your best guess, what percent of Americans today would you say are gay or lesbian? So 8% of people, when they asked people to write it down, 8% said less than 5%. And gay or lesbian is less than 5%. Just gay or lesbian, right? That's the number of people in the U.S. who are gay or lesbian. That's standard pretty much around the world. But 20% is the median number, just gay or lesbian. Like 20%, meaning that people think the number of gays and lesbians is really high. This is not bisexual, trans, et cetera, right? So here, go to the next one. I want to show you this. So here, this is U.S. adults. This is 2022, who identify as LGBT, okay? Queer. We could just it's kind of here, right? 7.2% total. So look at, but the largest number here is bisexual, okay? So it's really, look at these numbers, 7.2%, okay? Now, LGBT adults, so then they take all the people, the 7.2% of LGBT adults, and they ask them, like, well, what are you? Of the alphabet, right? What are you? And 58, almost 60% say, like, I'm bisexual. So now, check this out, bro. All right? Go to the next. Do you get that? You see that, right? So bisexuality is the number. Okay, 7.2% of U.S. adults identify as LGBT. 7.2%. But it's the B right here. And it's Gen Z. Look at that. Almost 20% of Gen Zers, meaning people born between 97 and 2004, identify as LGBT. Like in this classroom, in the people who applied to be volunteers, probably, I think we have about 160 applications from the class. There's probably 8 people who identified as bisexual, but like only one person who identified as gay, and maybe a gay man, and maybe 2 women who identified as lesbian, but so many bisexuals, right? So much, and that's what's driving this. You know, it's so fascinating. So like today, when you talk about, well, what percentage of the population is gay? It's like, wait, hang on. Do we mean gay and lesbian, or do we mean LGBT? Do we mean queer? If we're going to do LGBT, queer, that number is, for your generation, is really high. But look, for my generation, I'm a baby boomer. I was born in 1960, so it's really small, you know. So what do you make of that? Like the whole, like as a gay man, what do you make of like so many people identifying as bisexual?
I'm just gonna say probably like people are just like feel safer coming out about it. I feel like, you know, the numbers haven't really changed like in your generation. Mm-hmm. Those are probably just the amount of people reporting it.
Yep.
And like they just didn't feel safe to say it.
Yeah, like people, like I know a lot of people my age or older who are definitely gay. Or lesbian, gay or lesbian, absolutely, but lived their lives never proclaiming that. And if you had asked them on a survey, like, are you gay or lesbian, they would have said no. But today they would come out. And what do you think about bisexuality? You must know a lot of people for whom bisexuality is like the first step in the pool, so to speak, right? It's like, well, did you come out as bi before you came out as gay?
Yeah.
So if someone had asked you this survey question, you'd have said bi, and now you're, yeah, okay. And that happens, I think, with a lot of folks, right? And there are a lot of people who are bi-curious. You must meet people in college. I have so many, you must meet a lot of people up here who are bi-curious.
Not that I really know of.
Yeah,
no.
okay, yeah. I do. I meet over the years, increasingly, more recently, so many straight people who are bi-curious. It's like, why wouldn't you be bi-curious, right? What does that mean, by the way, when I say that? What's it mean for you?
Just like, why wouldn't you be bi-curious?
Yeah, but what's bi-curious mean?
Just like if you're straight but you're curious about, you know, the same sex.
Yeah, you just like, why wouldn't you be? I mean, really, if you think about it, it's human beings coming together. It's like, well, okay, you know. Or if you're gay, if you've always identified as gay or lesbian, and you'd be curious as well. I know a lot of people. Huh. Dude, any final thoughts? Do you have any final thing like Kenny? Just be yourselves, and I'll be me. And
I'd say, yeah, just like be yourself, you know, like, also like Katie, like you said, like, stop using like gay and F slur as like just like things that are bad, because like that contributed to how I viewed myself growing up, and like I don't think anyone should feel like that. So stop like using that as like a descriptor.
And I will say that the suicide and self-harm rate among gay and lesbian youth is still extraordinarily high compared to other youth, and that kind of stuff contributes to it. Dude, thanks for volunteering, Mike. Yeah, awesome, Mike.